Welcome to the Great Distraction.
Welcome back, people. This is The Great Distraction, and today the topic of discussion is part of our addiction series, this one's on coffee. Oh, man, almost messed that up there.
What's it about again?
Yeah. My name is Ben, and with me today are my co-host, Thomas.
How's it going?
Rick.
Hey, everybody.
And Glenn.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us. The Great Distraction is a podcast that focuses on a vast and random range of topics, and we hope that each episode leaves you with, if nothing else, something to ponder. As always, we would love to hear from you. Questions, comments, and topic suggestions are always welcome. You can contact us on Facebook or by email at greatdistractionpodcast@gmail.com. Coffee. Everybody knows coffee. Americans are huge on coffee, man. We live and die by the coffee. Some of us. I don't really drink this stuff, but a lot of people do.
I don't touch it.
Like a lot. Yeah, we'll get into. We have mixed feelings on the stuff actually in the group, but as a whole, Americans love this stuff. I mean, we'll get into some facts here that just blew me away as I started researching. That's one fun thing I love about doing this. Even if nobody's listening, man, the amount of crap that you learn when you start researching a topic to discuss and present, outward of your group of close friends or whatever is amazing. I mean, there's just like some of the stuff that you uncover. Constantly, I'm like, what the hell? I did not know that. I did not expect that. I can't believe that all the time. So this is definitely one of those ones that was like that for me because I don't know if the right word would be, we look at coffee so nonchalantly. Can I say that? Is that right?
You can.
Sure.
I guess. People don't really think about it other than just, you bought a soda or you bought a Snapple or something, right? Like it just like any
that
other,
was the plan.
Yeah, any other drink that you'd pick up for no reason at all every day of your life. Some people are drinking 6 to 8 cups of coffee a day. I mean, you're killing a pot. Anyway, it's just, and really nobody thinks about it anything differently, other than, damn, you drink a lot of coffee,
Right. Sure spend a lot of time in the bathroom, Bill.
Yeah. So, which funny thing, those side effects, actually, I was reading, wear off as your tolerance goes up. But anyway.
Oh, yeah. Just thickens to the inside of your stomach.
Oh, God. Yeah. So,
that's a wall.
What is this stuff? It's bean juice.
Hooray!
Yep. It's actually produced in over 70 countries worldwide now. I don't really think there's too much produced in America, though. Most of it...
We just consume it.
Yeah, we just consume the hell out of it. Most of it seems is, from my research, it was actually produced in like Africa and some in South America, contrary to the popular marketing of like Folgers, where it's pure Colombian.
It isn't all from Juan Valdez.
It is not all from Colombia. It is not all from...
I'm sort of disappointed already.
Yes, we'll get ready. So a little bit of statistics, because I love the facts that you can pull from this stuff, man. $45.4 billion a year market in 2018 is what it's built itself up to. $45 billion. That's insane. In 2018, 35,616 stores nationwide sell coffee. Those are dedicated retail stores, be it your Dutch Brothers or Dunkin' Donuts or Starbucks.
So that is a prepared coffee, not just beans? Or are those a separate thing, or is that all together?
No, prepared. Because you have to be. I had to be careful with that one because otherwise you would be including like supermarkets that sell massive amounts of ground or unground coffee.
So what was the number again?
35,616 stores nationwide.
That seems really low. Are those like stores that opened?
Let's do some math.
Because I'd say there's more than 35,000 Starbucks
just in Northern California.
States. Yeah.
Well, there's I think it was like 28 or 29,000.
Oh, my facts could be wrong, guys.
Right.
Starbucks.
I don't know where that number came from. So if you
divide it by 48 states, continental states, that's 730 per state.
Right. That's not right. Okay, we'll scratch that number. My bad. That's terrible. Maybe that demographic was...
I don't know. It could be, but
maybe it was set as... Because I was... so there's two major companies that put together stats that are associated with coffee, and then there's another one I use that's associated with chain restaurants. And the thing with these reports that they put together and all their research and stats is they sell them. They sell them to other companies for all kinds of research, right? And like one in particular is like a $3,500 report. The other one was about $800. So you get a few websites who have ponied up the money and purchased these reports, but they don't want to give them to you out either, because I think that's part of the agreement when you buy them, is that you can use the numbers, you just can't give out the copies of the report.
Yeah. Well, maybe you know what? I think that's so. I just looked up a Starbucks thing, and Starbucks says they only have 14,000. So maybe that sounds about right then.
And Glenn was saying something like 20,000, right?
29.
29.
Country.
As far as
You can just Google Starbucks locations and get an official Starbucks page, and I'm sure it'll tell you.
Yeah,
how
that's
many
what they were saying.
locations.
that might be stores that have been open, maybe closed included.
Oh wow. They say globally it's just under 24,000.
Oh, that might have been.
Way. No way, because there's a Starbucks in like every other corner.
Here there is where they can afford it, but you go to Oakland and there ain't a Starbucks in every corner.
There's
You
a-
go-
there's
Well,
Starbucks
there
in
are a
Oakland.
lot of Starbucks in Oakland.
Yeah.
oh my god.
And
It's fucking
Well, whatever.
everywhere.
Find some
San
other low
Francisco
demographic
is
area.
insane.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a high. So those are high density areas. So it's a bad choice. So let's say you go to Reading. How many Starbucks are there in like?
There are a good few.
How about Eureka? How about find a smaller town?
I think there are.
How about Cool
There's
Town? How many
4 in
Starbucks are in
Reading.
Cool, California?
I don't know.
Come on, man. The majority of America does not have high density. They don't go. Then they don't. Also, aren't going out buying $5 a cups of coffee, right? So I bet we here in our area, of California, see a whole lot of Starbucks because we here spend a lot of damn money on dumb shit. So
True.
you're going to see a lot more of them in these areas than you are, in the rest of America. There's a lot of rural in America, right?
Yeah, but I travel to a fair amount of places, and that's one of the nice things about something like Starbucks. It's like McDonald's; it's very consistent. You can find it everywhere. Every airport, there's a Starbucks. Every small town, there's a Starbucks. They're everywhere.
Every time you turn left.
Okay, so going back to what we were saying then, maybe 35,000 is correct, maybe it is not.
Depending on your Google search or who you buy
That's
your
right.
stats from.
On as always, everything we say, take it with a grain of salt and go out and do your own damn research.
What was that old Reading Rainbow saying? Don't take my word for it.
yeah,
Something
whatever
like
LeVar Burton used to say. Yeah, something like that. I can't remember how he finished it. But okay, anyway.
Moving on.
Oh, man. And what's interesting is that same stat that gave me the 35,000 number also said that it was expected to grow to 40,800 by 2023. So now I don't know if I believe that particular one anyway.
But I don't know. I feel like it's probably like 20 to 30 new ones per state. Oh, that seems believable. How many Starbucks do you think go up in a year that you know of, Glenn?
California.
California. Let's see. It depends on the time of year, but year round, like
More than 20?
ish, probably somewhere around there.
Couple dozen.
Couple dozen?
Interesting. And then some do probably move or close down or something like that.
I don't think they ever close.
If we're talking about construction, are we counting remodels or relocations? As
See,
a new
there's just
store?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
But I mean,
it's
just like
tricky.
individual stores.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh.
Interesting.
It's a lot, though.
Right. So let's see. Okay. So the National Coffee Association, the NCA, was formed. Oh man, I thought I had that. They've been going for like 60 plus years, and they're formed of some of the largest coffee resellers, companies, whatever, in the world. And they, but this organization is just in the U.S. As far as I understand. They compile a lot of statistics, and they probably do a lot of lobbying, and they probably do all kinds of other things to keep themselves in business. But nevertheless, one of the things that they do is they are one of the entities that generates the report, an annual report, tracking coffee sales and all kinds of and consumption and all kinds of stuff, statistics related to coffee. Again, this was the report that runs like $500 to $800 depending on what version of it you purchase. But some stats that they released for 2018, I thought were pretty interesting. One of the ways that they generate from their interviews and their polls that they take, they're able to extrapolate. I guess maybe that's the right word. I don't know. Samplings all over the country, and they yield statistics from those. So they're not asking obviously every single person in the country. That's not possible. But they, based just like most statistics, they're poll samplings of different demographics and geographic areas, whatever. So they come up with 64% of the population has had a coffee drink within the last 24 hours in 2018. So that's changed, obviously, over the years. But this was, like I said, from the latest, the 2018 report.
Did they tell you what that demographic was?
No, 18 plus.
Okay.
For all the research was done in 2018 for these current stats. And if I read their report or what I could get from their report, because I couldn't see the whole report, because obviously you have to buy it, but from websites that supposedly bought their report, I think they said that this was like 20,000 interviewed or something like that. Okay. So again, they probably have listed in the report all their demographics or where they polled people, how they got them, all that stuff. But You don't get to see that unless you buy the report or some entity that bought it gives you that information, which I couldn't find.
Okay.
Anyway, there has been a growth. 64% is the highest that we've seen since, or that they've seen since 2012.
Really?
That's what it says. Compared to soda at 35%, which is in a downward slide. So again, that 30. So if they polled 100 people, 35 said, yes, I've had a soda in the last 24 hours. Whereas if you polled 100 people, 64 said, yes, I've had a coffee drink.
Is
in the last
that
24 hours.
America's version of getting healthier?
Yeah, soda bad. Go ahead, drink coffee.
Drink coffee.
Well, so we'll get into the marketing a little bit more, but right now it's just like, do cell phones cause cancer? I don't know what you believe, what you want to believe, but go look for research. There is research on either way, on either side. Just like when cigarettes were being considered to be bad, right? There were entities that were paid, doctors trying to tell you, and scientists trying to tell you that cigarette nicotine actually makes you healthy.
Yeah, you really need to look at who is financing this research.
Yep. Not who it's coming from. Doesn't matter if it's a doctor. Doesn't matter if it's Harvard. Doesn't matter who it is. Everybody,
especially if it's one of those people.
Yeah, everybody can be paid off to generate statistics or facts, quote unquote, that benefit whoever's funding them. So, oh man, now I lost my train of thought for that one. Yeah. So 35% versus soda. Let's see. 79. This one surprised me. 79% of those polled for this same. This is all going off the same report. 79% brew their coffee at home. I expected it to be much less and more. I expected more people to be buying it.
I wonder how many of those people still go to Starbucks.
That's a good point. I did see breakdowns for that, but the numbers were kind of weird, so I didn't feel confident in trying to explain how they broke down their data. That got a lot more confusing. And then they also broke it down too with since I don't really drink coffee, I don't know the differences between all these, but they had it broken down with gourmet coffees versus non-gourmet versus ones that were more tea-based. And I don't understand all the breakdowns that they were doing, so I couldn't make it make sense. So I left a lot of those stats out. However,
isn't bean juice just kind of bean juice?
Unless it's got tea in it or something, because the tea,
sugar.
Obviously that's not a bean, that's tea leaves, right?
Right.
Is all beer the same?
Touche.
Fair point.
Touche. So yeah, when you start getting into how they break stuff down, it kind of gets confusing because there's so many different variations of freaking.
So I don't know much about coffee. Do they teabag to make it?
Oh, they definitely teabag you.
That's tea, you limey.
I meant beanbag.
Beanbag you. If you're interested, again, look up the National Coffee Association report, coffee consumption report, or I think that's what it was called, and you can find all kinds of more stats on that. Not as exhaustive or available as some of the other stuff that we talked about statistics from and some of our other topics, but there's still quite a bit out there. So they say levels are still on the rise for buying coffee outside of the home. But they say, like I said, 79% are making their coffee at home and taking it with them, which I completely do believe too. Because I mean, when you go out and buy your first $5 cup of coffee, you're like, well, fuck that, I can get a K
whole
cup,
bag.
or I can get a whole bag for that price, right? So that makes total sense. And then there's no shortage of insulated Yeti thermoses and whatever, that people can make it convenient to keep your coffee all warm all damn day. So
And then how many offices have a break room with a coffee maker that's running all day?
So I assumed that the in-home also included in-office. It didn't break that down, but that's what I assumed that meant too. So now when you say that, it remind me of that, maybe that 9% does sound a little more believable, because if people are at work 8 to 10 hours a day, and then they're at home, I don't know how often are we at home, 5 hours including your night.
Every day sometimes.
When you're awake. Yeah, sometimes not. Anyway, however long you're at home awake, that you might be drinking coffee. So yeah, so that makes sense that 79% would be higher than I expected. Coffee drinkers consume an average of 3 cups per day. Now, I don't know if that means serving size cups, or if that means like a cup, like a measuring cup amount. That didn't specify.
I think it's just probably just a random cup. Like, hey, you want a cup of coffee?
Yeah, because
whatever that size is.
A cup could be a 12 ounce to a 30 ounce, depending on what you buy at, say, Starbucks.
Or would it be like a mug, like a traditional?
I don't know.
Like
Probably a
60
standardized volume, kind of like one serving of alcohol is a 12-ounce beer.
Yeah.
Even though you can get a pint or a 22-ounce.
So then in that case...
So it's probably a 6-ounce coffee mug.
Or is it
which is a small cup to us now, whereas everybody's walking around with a 20-ounce
You mean the
insulated
64s?
bottle. Yeah.
Yeah, and it blew me away. Starbucks does have a 31-ounce option.
Dude, it's always scary to be traveling on the road and pull into a place and see all the truckers filling up their 64-ounce.
Yeah. Yeah, the
coolers
Mountain Dew.
of coffee and Mountain Dew. Yeah.
Oh man. Okay, so another entity that generates reports is Technomics, and Technomics they do. This is not exactly coffee related, but it is relative to what we're talking about here. They generate, I guess, every year a top 500 chain restaurant report. This report sold for $3,500. Again, different entities will purchase it and then glean information to put on their websites or generate their own statistic and reports from. But obviously, I did not see this actual report because I don't have $3,500. One of the websites that I found that put up a lot of stats from it, though, was the, if you're curious, the restaurantbusinessonline.com /top-500-2018. You can just Google the Technomics top 500 if you want to see more. But they rank Starbucks as the number 2 company of all chain restaurants. Number 1 is obviously, or as you might guess, McDonald's.
Mickey D's.
Mickey D's. Good old Mickey D's with pink chicken McNuggets.
Who also sells coffee.
Who also sells a lot of freaking coffee. And as a matter of fact, one of the things that I was reading, I don't think I wrote it any other way, so I can mention it now. The number 1 coffee seller in the U.S. bounces back and forth, again, from what I could find, bounces back and forth between Starbucks and McDonald's over every 3 or 5 years or something like that. So they are actually, which is funny to think about because or at least when I think about it, I should say, when I think of Starbucks, I don't think of having any relation to McDonald's. And I have been in McDonald's new remodeled locations where they try and make them all fancy with the black arch locations that have chandeliers and shit. It's ridiculous.
What?
Yeah, you haven't heard about the black arch
No.
ones? The ones in the Bay Area. There's a lot. That's where I've seen a couple. They have black arches instead of gold arches.
Wow.
And I mean, you're talking like bamboo siding and like beautiful like brass or polished metal fixtures everywhere. And then they have a new thing too that I've started seeing in those ones, but then I started seeing it later in the lower end. I guess you would say the lower end McDonald's, where you can walk up to a touch screen, place your order, and then you get it dispenses this little unit.
Yeah.
That's a sensor within their Wi-Fi network, and you take the sensor to the table, and they have a screen back there that actually shows where you're sitting based on the sensor in the back to where they can take your order out to you, for whatever you ordered. So you don't even need to talk to somebody in there. You order it right off the touchscreen. It's pretty crazy, dude.
So the black arch ones are only coffee?
No, they're regular. No, they're regular McDonald's. They sell all the regular McDonald's.
They're
stuff.
just their high class.
They're high end, and
They just have a butler for your Big Mac?
pretty much.
Yeah, and Starbucks has high end locations too. I
Really?
can't remember what they're called. Yeah, they have a name too for their higher end locations. There's one in downtown Sacramento that just opened. It's huge. And they have too. When you see them, they're really pushing these days their cold brewed coffees, and they have how you go into a bar and there's taps right on the wall. Well, they have coffee taps.
Those nitro ones, yeah.
Yeah, the nitro, exactly. And those things are all pretty shiny metals, and they spend a lot of money making those fancier Starbucks look fancier.
You're talking about the one right across the street from the Capitol?
Yeah, that's where it is.
Yeah, okay.
Yes. So that's an example of what some of those look like. Some of them are even fancier than that, but that's the only one I've been into. And they're differently laid out. So they're trying to really change their image, both of them. And so anyway, what I was going to say there is I was thinking when I think of Starbucks, I don't think of McDonald's as actual competition, but they're really trying to do that. And they are a competitor.
But if you remember back, though, I mean, before there was places like Starbucks, McDonald's sold coffee.
Yeah, or was a gas station, right?
Yeah,
You got
I
that
guess.
crap
But
from
I
AMPM.
mean, but I remember being a kid way before Starbucks and stuff. With my grandparents or something, you go to McDonald's and get a coffee.
Yeah, and you paid 50 cents for it instead of $5.
Spill it on yourself and became a millionaire.
Oh man, that's funny. That's funny. So wanted to talk a little bit about costs of coffee because this is where all the fun started. I think when we originally started talking about this topic. And these numbers are from Starbucks, and they and not to hate on Starbucks, they're the biggest and the most in the public eye, so they're an easy place to generate our stats and topic points from.
But they're also they're my favorite.
Well, all right, whatever.
I'd say it's relatable for anyone in the
Yeah,
world.
if anybody in the country, well, and that's the other thing too. Is we're really only going to be talking about the country stuff as usual because obviously we never lived anywhere else. So
They're my preferred caffeine-related drug dealer.
there you go. Your preferred drug dealer?
Yes.
Yes, and you can find Starbucks in Italy and Spain.
And they're
stuff
always
like
they're
that.
on every
yeah.
street corner
They're
ready to give you your
everywhere, man.
fix.
Yep.
Nice. So the pricing, I guess, varies from state to state. They're not the same.
We probably pay extra taxes in California,
well,
right?
Who knows, dude? I don't know what the reason
70
is.
cents a gallon.
Yeah, so I pulled up the numbers from a secondary website because if you go to Starbucks' website, you actually can't see prices. They're not. They don't show prices on the website because they vary them all over the place. So they do show a lot of nutrition facts, which I thought I was impressed with.
There's actually a lot of nutrition facts.
Probably a state law.
There you go.
It's a joke. There's probably like one thing on. Not much nutrition to talk about.
Oh no, there's not. There's nothing healthy in those damn things for you. That's for sure. But nevertheless, they show breakdowns of like everything for every single one of their drinks with pictures, and they did a very good job on their nutrition facts. Not that anybody cares or is paying attention or do anything about it.
Well, when you're trying to replicate a Starbucks beverage in your own home, it's nice to see what the breakdown
Right.
is.
There you go. There you go. So let's see. To lay this out real quick. For those that don't know, because I did not know, a tall is their smallest, and that's a 12 ounce. The grande is their medium, and that is 16 ounces. The Venti is their large, and that is 24 ounces. And the Trenta, and I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing these right because I don't really care, is 31 ounces. I'm sorry.
And on that Trento one, they have some coffees that they won't sell you in that Trenta.
Yes, that's true. I saw that, and they reflect that. So when you go and so to expand on how impressed I was with their nutrition facts, when you go to their nutrition page on the website and you pull up different classifications of drinks, because there's ones that are espresso based, there's ones that are fruit freshers, there's ones that whatever. So you pull up the a coffee based one. Not only can you, when they show you the breakdown of all the sugars, the cholesterol, the solid sodium, all that stuff, when they show you the breakdowns, they also have drop downs for the sizes and for what you use as your creamer, if you will. Almond milk, soy milk, 2%, half or low fat, whole milk.
Jameson.
Kahlua. So I was actually pretty impressed. It changes all the numbers based on what you select from your order, and whipped cream or not. It was really cool. So like, oh wow, that's impressive. It's nice that they took the time to do that. I guess probably because they did it because they got a lot of flack for what do you put
somebody
in
probably
our,
sued them or something.
yeah, what are you putting in our body? What are we putting in our body? What are you
I don't know what
slanging
I'm
here?
giving my kids.
Yeah, so I broke up most of the numbers here that we'll go over as we go through the various topics here on this particular episode into a couple of common ones. Again, I don't really drink coffee, so this was kind of tricky to break down, but this seems kind of logical to me. One is just their regular brewed coffee. Two is their cafe latte. The brewed coffee is designed I selected to represent the cheapest option to get bean juice in your body from Starbucks.
That would be the coffee that you would make at home.
Correct. And two is their cafe latte. Now, their cafe latte is kind of like the mid cost of both the sugar level, the caffeine level, and the cost of the drink.
So what that is it's the brewed coffee, but they steam the milk when they put it in.
Oh. Okay, so that was kind of the same. That was kind of in the same level for cost, sugar, and caffeine
It's
for
pretty
like
much the
a
same
mocha or whatever, and other drinks that were mid tiered.
Okay.
That's what I was going for. I was trying to take a sampling of their,
Yeah.
Anyway,
It was more expensive.
yeah, it is more expensive, yes. And then the last one is their super fancy. You're gonna get diabetes and fat from drinking this drinks.
The espresso drinks.
The pumpkin
Frappuccinos.
spice latte and the salted caramel macchiato, whatever. Those are the most expensive.
The
and
heart attack drinks.
That's right, and they're the worst for you. So breaking that down, let's start with the brewed coffee. If you buy this stuff at their prices and you're not buying like a K-cup or you're buying their ground coffee making it yourself, this is all retail location stuff. A brewed coffee in tall, which is again small, is $19.70 a gallon. And I specifically broke these down by gallons because I wanted to reference what another common thing people complain about all the time, and that's gas prices. So I want you to think about Go Juice in your car and Go Juice in your body. A Grande is $16.8 a gallon, and a Venti is $13.1 a gallon. So in their defense, I suppose, the larger the cup of coffee you buy from Starbucks, you really do get more bang for your buck. It is cheaper per ounce to buy it that way, considerably so. However, I want you to think about it in terms of gallons of gas. Your cafe latte, a tall, is $31.5 per gallon. A Grande is $29.2 per gallon, and a Venti is $22.1 per gallon. A pumpkin spice latte or a salted caramel mocha are the same. as far as the pricing goes. A tall is $45.3 per gallon. A grande is $39.6 per gallon, and a venti is $28 per gallon. And if you're curious, there are 128 ounces in a gallon. So you can either take your tall at 12 ounces, grande at 16, or your venti at 24, and divide that into 128, and that's how many you'd have to buy before you're spending these prices. It's not really that many.
Nope.
And if you're drinking daily, you're spending this.
So pretty much what you're saying is it takes the average soccer mom in Roseville about $45 a gallon to get going.
There you go, man.
And we complain about $5 a gallon for
Yeah.
our car.
Yeah, and I mean, on top of that, they're driving that Ford Expedition thing, boat that to haul their two little kids around,
But their
And,
64-ounce thing of
yeah,
coffee.
at $9 9 miles per gallon.
But you got to understand that with buying gasoline, you're not getting that dopamine dump that you're getting from the coffee. You're not getting that
Absolutely
feel good. You just
we're gonna get to
smell
that.
some nasty chemicals.
Yep.
I don't want to do that.
Well, some
It's
people
not fun.
Some people get their dick hard by lighting their car up, and hear the engine roar or
I
whatever.
guess. Yeah, all right.
Got a big truck, and I do that diesel dump or whatever those people do. What you told us about that before? What do they
Welcome
call
to
it?
the
Rolling
burbs.
What is it?
Rolling coal.
Rolling coal.
Wow.
Yeah, there are guys out there that get off on dumping diesel black dust or smoke on people as they drive by. YouTube it. It's
Right.
funny. It's not funny. It's funny that people would actually think that was fucking cool. But anyway, let's see here. Oh, yes. So now let's talk a little bit about how much caffeine and sugar you're getting with these drinks. And again, I did the same kind of breakdown. All of these are grande sizes, so the 16-ounce medium. All of these are with 2% milk. And all of these are with no whipped cream or additional ingredients. Okay, your brewed coffee, again, like Rick said, this is the one that you'd be brewing at home. And this particular one was the blonde roast. And if you had it black, so nothing else in it, you would get 0 sugar because there's no sugar in just straight bean juice. Now, I don't know who would buy, and I know I said 2% milk, but that changes depending on what you use for your creamer in the black coffee. I wanted to do the brewed coffee just black.
Black is no creamer.
Yes, correct. So I know it, but at first I said 2% milk. The other ones will be 2% milk. The coffee is just is just black.
Gotcha.
But so if you don't drink your coffee black, then anything you add in there that's how much sugar you're going to add in there. But what I did think was interesting was in that brewed coffee black, you get 360 milligrams of caffeine. I'll make reference to that later so you get a gauge of how much that is. Your cafe latte, 18 grams of sugar, again, 16-ounce size, 18 grams of sugar, 150 milligrams of caffeine. So like way less than the brewed coffee.
So you're really getting a sugar buzz rather than a coffee high.
And at the higher you go in the sugar, the lesser you go in the caffeine, I found. So the more frilly and expensive the drink gets, you actually get less caffeine and much more sugar.
Sugar's cheaper.
Yeah, I think so. And
Definitely.
That brings up another point that I just thought of. I did not look up. I don't know what they're using for their source of sugar.
Oh,
It's
their
those
sweetener.
syrup pumps.
Okay, is it high fructose?
Yeah.
Okay, probably,
I don't know.
right? So that's what I'm saying. Is it refined sugar? Is it raw sugar?
It's probably
Is
just
it
a
honey
syrup
based?
pump.
If it's syrup, it probably is high fructose corn syrup. But I don't know. I did not look up what they're using for sugar in these sugar drinks. So,
Wow.
if you want to find that out, you can look that one up. Try
Let
to
us
find
know,
it yourself.
folks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
really. I would love to know. I didn't find that. I didn't even think to look at.
So I thought the only difference between the brewed coffee and the lattes was the steamed milk. I didn't realize they were putting sugar in it as well, which clearly they are. But
Or maybe they have special milk made for them that has more sugar in it. I don't know. Or maybe there's a lot of sugar in milk. I don't know. I don't drink milk either. Anyway, caramel macchiato, 33 grams of sugar, 150 milligrams of caffeine. So same amount of caffeine as a cafe latte, but you get twice the sugar, almost twice the sugar in that particular example. Some of the drinks, like I had mentioned already, some of the drinks are the more, like I said, the more fancier they get, the lower the caffeine, the more sugar. Some of them went up to 63 grams of sugar for, again, a grande 16-ounce, and that was the highest that I found, and that was the mocha cookie crumble frappuccino.
yeah, those are milkshakes. Pretty
They are straight up milkshakes, and there's a lot of them that are milkshakes.
Mm-hmm.
Those things, just not that we're talking about caloric intake and other things, but I just like blown away by the stat or the nutrition facts on these things. That particular one is 500 calories in one 16-ounce drink, 22 grams of fat, and 55 milligrams of cholesterol.
Holy
Really?
smokes.
Yeah, so when you think about, that's the other thing I want everyone to tell. I hope everyone takes away from this. When you buy these drinks, it is not just sugar and caffeine, because maybe you're like, I don't drink that much sugar, so this is my sugar.
Yeah, they got to flavor it with something and
Dude,
give some sort of imaginary
They are
taste.
just straight up unhealthy. I mean, that is a lot of cholesterol, that is a lot of fat, and that is a ton of calories. Remember, if you want to go off of the government's national diet, 2,000 calorie a day diet, whatever, that's a
meal.
quarter of your intake in one drink. How much else are you eating the rest of the day?
Well, that's another thing too. I think a lot of people get all amped up on coffee and having some of these drinks. You have one or two of them, then you make your own cup of coffee or whatever. You got 2,000. As far as the calories are concerned, you're 2,000 just in beverages you've had throughout the day.
Yep, and I think that mocha cookie crumble frappuccino is like a $6 drink for the medium, the 16 ounce. So it's like they're not cheap at all. For note, the average, and I can't remember where I got this fact from. I think it came from the National Coffee Association, but it also might have come from one of the other stat companies. Anyway, so you can look it up if you don't like doesn't sound right to you. The average for the average daily intake for caffeine is 164 milligrams. So,
The average daily?
that average daily intake for an American. All this is American based.
But you said that the average American that drinks coffee drinks 3 cups a day.
So that's the combined of that intake?
I guess
I mean, that's what I'm thinking.
that's what I'm thinking too.
But one grande is 360 milligrams.
Oh, yeah.
of the
you're right.
blonde roast, yeah. So
Oh, the blondes have more caffeine?
They say they have
They
more
do.
fun.
damn it,
So-
I was
so
going for something like that
Only
too.
the black ones.
So when they roast the beans, the heating process
Yeah.
denatures the caffeine.
Okay.
So a blonde roast is cooked less than a darker roast.
Oh,
Got it.
darn.
So it'll have, the darker roast will have a stronger, bolder flavor, but the caffeine content gets denatured.
Got it.
Dang, so I didn't know that. I didn't know that I was choosing one of the higher ones then.
That's fine. Yeah.
Anyway, so if you get, there's so many damn ways to serve up bean juice. It's not even funny. So, like I said, I picked the first one that was on their brewed coffee list, and so the blonde roast. So if you get the blonde roast, you're consuming over twice what the average daily intake is for caffeine. That's if you have just 1 ounce. If you go back for a refill, holy crap.
And that could also be that possibly the serving size for 1 cup of coffee is like 6 ounces. So that could be 2 cups in the grande plus a higher caffeine content, which would get you to what you're talking about. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
I don't know.
All it said, it didn't say how much liquid people are typically consuming to get that 164 milligrams. It just said that the 164 milligrams was the averaged out.
But you said earlier 3 cups.
That was, the number of cups of coffee. But yeah, but
That
that
the
doesn't,
average
that
coffee
doesn't-
drinker
That
drinks.
doesn't necessarily have any correlation to the amount of caffeine that's consumed, because different beans have different levels of caffeine. So just because you're drinking 3 cups of coffee a day doesn't mean you're getting 3 times 100 milligrams of coffee. There's no way of knowing how many milligrams of cholesterol are in each. You can't, because they're all different, right?
But that's what caught me off guard was when you'd said that, I was thinking that the average person drinks 3 cups, and I think of the grande as a regular size cup. And then when you had put out the stat for the average caffeine intake, right, it was a lot higher or
Oh, I
lower
see.
than I expected. So that's why I was surprised by that.
Well, I think so. I guess what the problem there is that I selected the brewed coffee, the blonde roast, that has one of the highest, or is one of the highest that they offer for caffeine. So
Yeah.
that's where I messed up. Maybe people know better than to get that one.
There's too many variables here to
Yeah,
like
exactly,
really narrow this down.
exactly. So, and the other thing too is, I mean, these companies that generate these stats are selling these reports for a lot of money. So, I mean, they're in the business of these. So and who knows how much they fudge them themselves. This is all you can get, though. There's that is the only stats that exist out there. So you have to get it from some source, right?
Unless you take samples of the product and actually do like a chemical breakdown of.
Every single one, which Starbucks has done. I mean,
Right,
that's
right,
where we
right.
got the numbers from. But I mean,
what
we
I'm
don't know
saying-
what they're buying, and yeah, gotcha. I should have looked at some other brewed coffees when I was pulling those up. But again, go look at Starbucks if you drink Starbucks. And I'm sure all the other companies do the same thing, because they're all in competition. They're all going to, approach the situation in a similar fashion. Go check out the nutrition facts on all of them. I mean, you should be educating yourself on what it is you're putting in your body, especially if you're a coffee drinker.
Well, so what? Go back when Rick was saying which size had 300 and something.
Who said it was a 16-ounce grande?
Yes.
16 ounce got to ask how much?
Has 300 of the blonde roast.
Yeah.
Has 360 milligrams of caffeine.
So that's 360. So everything that I found online said like a max daily healthy amount was 400.
Oh, really? So
So
you're
if you
still
drink-
under your 100. Your
Just for one drink, one
one
cup
drink.
of coffee. So if you're having 2 or 3 or a pot of coffee a day, you're tripling and quadrupling.
I don't think too many people are hitting the pot level, but I mean,
Dude, I don't know,
everybody,
man.
Dude, I'm always hitting that pot level.
Well played, sir.
I'd say there's a lot of people out there that
I
do
said
that.
there is. When I was growing up, my stepdad was a union auto worker, and he drank coffee. I think that is all he ate and drank for a while. And one time he was having
Coffee
some
and cigarettes?
Coffee and cigarettes, 70s.
That sucks.
And one time he went to the doctor because he wasn't feeling good, and they did some blood tests or whatever, and his doctor came and said, "You need to stop drinking coffee today."
Yep. Yeah,
That
we'll
was
get
like
into some
not even remotely, just today. You need to totally stop drinking
cold
coffee.
turkey. Wow. So that's actually a great.
He was
segue
probably a
into
pot a day kind of person.
God, that's a great segue into the next section here. Now we want to talk about finally get to the point of this thing is the addictiveness of this stuff.
Drugs.
The drug itself, man. Yeah. So caffeine or coffee addiction is actually comprised of 2 addictions because it's not there's 2 major ingredients in this stuff that depending on how you drink it. Now, if you're drinking your coffee black, that's the best way to drink coffee. And if you're going to do that, and if you're going to buy into the major marketing that's going on right now, talking about the health benefits, the potential health benefits of drinking coffee, then you want to be drinking it black. Because the minute you start putting creamers or sugars or caramel or chocolate or
Jameson.
cookies or Kahlua or Jameson, whatever.
Dude, it's all about that Irish coffee.
Yeah, when you start doing all that, you change all of that and you add other addictive substance, plural or singular, into that drink. So what we're going to go off of is that people are putting sugar and creamer
hell yeah.
in their coffee because I don't know very many people who drink coffee black. I do know a couple.
I
but
actually do.
You do? I like tea, and I drink tea straight. I don't put anything in it. I don't drink it that often, but so I mean, there are people that truly like the flavor of the bean juice, and they drink it straight. But people who are shopping at Starbucks, I don't believe are those people.
Isn't and I'm not a coffee person, so I'll refer to the coffee people on the panel.
Yeah.
Isn't an espresso was like a European little shot, like a morning shot of caffeine, right?
Yeah.
Really, that's all it is.
Right, and it's a finer grind. So,
But it's it's not like a 12
Right.
ounce
It's
cup.
like a shot glass, yeah.
Yeah.
Super concentrated.
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
So you grind the beans into a much finer powder so that more of it gets
So it's
exposed to
dense.
hot water. More
Okay.
of the active ingredients is leached out during the brews.
Like a 2-foot bong instead of a.
Right.
Or probably even more like hash because it's kind of
Now we're talking.
put through pressure. It's like when the grinds come out, they're a little puck, so it's compressed and steamed as well
little
to
puck.
get all of the.
Starts to sound like
caffeine
black tar heroin all
Yeah.
packed together. It's probably at least as dangerous though.
Yeah, yeah.
When you were in Europe, did you not see like
I saw bunches of the little coffee.
they drink
espressos.
real small coffee cups? Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, wow, they're intelligent.
Does that make you look like a more refined person when you drink?
No, it just makes you smarter because you're not sucking down 35 ounces of coffee at a time 4 times a day.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
but-
thought it was because you couldn't get your pinky on the cup, so pinky had to be out.
So
They're
okay,
regulating their intake of.
are they?
Well, I think so because they're
Because
just having an
what's
espresso,
the-
and that's probably most people.
So what if
That's
we
all they
said
drink.
what if we said that the espresso had 300 milligrams of caffeine in it, or versus a 16-ounce coffee has 303. Let's say it had the same amount, 300. If you found 2 beans that were the same, right? You're
No
just
2
drinking
beans are
more.
the same.
No 2 beans are the same.
It's coffee, not snowflakes, man. They're all the same. What Ben's getting at here, I think, is accurate. I think that the espresso drink is equal to a cup of coffee. So, like a 1 ounce shot
just more
of
water in it.
80 proof liquor has the same amount of alcohol as a 12 ounce
Beer.
5%
But
beer.
there's more stuff in beer,
But what-
so
but
that
what-
analogy kind of works.
Well, what I
I was
was
trying to use as ratio.
yeah. Yes.
Yeah, but what I was saying was I feel like people who do that probably don't have 3 or 4 other cups of coffee a day.
If they're doing straight shots of espresso.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I have no idea.
I'm
but
doing a shot of espresso and getting a little buzz going, and then I'm
throws a mocha latte on
half an
top
hour
of it.
half an hour later, I start to come down a little bit. I'll throw another one back.
All right, man.
Well,
I
like
can't imagine that. I've never done one of those.
on the European model, I think they do things in less of excess than we do.
Yeah.
So I'd say
Yeah.
that's accurate. But
They're
if you go
smaller
to-
servings.
Yeah, if you go to Starbucks and you have them make up one of those fancy drinks, you can add extra shots of espresso
Oh,
in
yeah,
there.
yeah.
So the American side of that would not be accurate to your statement.
And now after researching into this, I can see why people would do that because let's say you like one of the super sugary foo-foo drinks, right? You get that. There's no caffeine in it. I mean, relatively speaking.
Oh, yeah, because it's just sugar.
Yeah, so now you're like, yeah, but I want the caffeine too. So can you add a couple shots of espresso into it too? So now you can up that caffeine dosage and get the
So
sugar.
now, so now how many calories does that drink become? 1,000?
Well, the calories probably wouldn't go up that high because if you're just putting straight black
Coffee.
because that's what they're saying
like
the
five
espresso is. It's just
5 calories or
yeah,
something?
it's not that much calories. No,
Wow.
because straight bean juice doesn't have really any calories and has no sugar.
Okay.
It's just caffeine. It's like tea. It's like there's no calorie.
Yeah, I don't drink
intake.
coffee so I don't know a lot
Yeah,
of that.
there's no calorie intake to it. It's just like rice water or I don't want to say
Gotcha.
sake, but it's just a run through.
Yeah, filtered. It's the
yeah,
beans.
that's all it is. It's like tea.
Yeah.
Just like you stick a tea bag in there in your face. And,
You might.
know,
Don't fall asleep at Ben's house.
you guys are dirty. So we break the addiction properties to this into the two separate addictive drugs that are in this these juice mixtures, and one one is caffeine and one is sugar. So let's talk about and they are both addictive. Let's talk about one caffeine first. Caffeine is a central nervous system stimulant, and believe it or not, it is actually a psychoactive drug. It is considered a psychoactive active drug, and it is Schedule 3 or something along those lines. But it's obviously we can have it. Mm-hmm. But there is some regulation in what quantities you can purchase it, I guess. And it is the world's most widely consumed psychoactive drug, and legal and unregulated in nearly all parts of the world. So scratch that. I was wrong about the regulation. Works by...
Hold on. Is there a black market for coffee somewhere?
Probably some places. For some reason or another, there's a trade embargo, or maybe it's small countries where they don't have import-export and don't grow their own beans there or whatever, so their people aren't addicted to it and don't want it. I mean, there's all kinds of weird situations that exist in smaller countries or whatever. I mean, look at
There's not a Starbucks everywhere.
No, and look at places like, for example, Cuba. I mean, how long could you not get half the shit that's in America in Cuba? I mean, there's just because their leader said, nope, you will not bring that crap in here. And maybe coffee wasn't one of them, but there was...
I think it went the other way around. I think it was harder to get stuff from Cuba in the U.S., but I think they still had access to a lot of things.
Oh, okay.
Cuba?
Well, imagine...
We weren't sending it directly, but they still got it.
Well, imagine the reverse, and I'm sure it exists somewhere, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, if you can imagine a situation, there probably is somewhere someone's dealing with that. But there's got to be some places that, or maybe they just don't care about it, and they don't. Their people aren't too big on it.
Okay.
Who knows? Or maybe they still chew cocoa leaves. I mean, who knows what those people have in their access to in their countries. And I wanted to talk a little bit about how this works so that scientifically, to kind of represent how the addictive nature of these two chemicals work. But obviously, we're not a science channel, so I'm not going to get too crazy into it. And I don't understand biology and chemistry that well anyway. And unfortunately, neither of us are biologists or chemists. But nevertheless, I tried to put it in the best layman terms as I possibly could and understand it myself, too. So essentially, what caffeine does is it blocks the neuron receptors in the brain from allowing key sleep-inducing molecules to attach and then thus make us sleepy. You can look up the individual names. There's a really great Wikipedia page on how this works, and there's a couple of really cool videos on YouTube. But that's kind of what's happening. Is this the caffeine molecule blocks the sleepy molecules, if you will, from attaching to receptors in our brain and thus making us sleepy. Caffeine is listed as what's known as a receptor antagonist. So it is actually, like I said, stopping those sleepy molecules from latching into there, and therefore we don't feel tired. And on top of that, it can also make you feel good by allowing more dopamine to connect to dopamine receptors that would normally be blocked by these sleep-inducing molecules. And so that's why we feel happier, because now we don't feel tired because we're being, those molecules that make us sleepy aren't attaching to our neurons and we're not getting the effect from that. And simultaneously, dopamine is more apt and has more opportunity to be...
It's a little rush.
It's probably the dopamine dump that's making you more alert than blocking the sleepiness, right? Because people don't drink coffee.
It's both. They said it's both effects.
Right, but I imagine
the happy emotions, the feeling, the emotional
probably
feeling is
stronger.
what happens with the dopamine attachment.
Yeah, I guess since I drink coffee in the morning, the less sleepy effect probably would be negated by the dopamine dump. But if I were drinking coffee in the evening to prevent sleep, yeah, I don't know. I'm overthinking it. Keep going. I'm sorry.
Have a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
The other thing too is I don't know. So I was reading some people have a very common misconception that drinking or consuming some sort of stimulant that makes you feel less sleepy does not mean you're not sleepy. You are sleepy, and
Your body's tired, but you just don't
need
sense
sleep.
it.
You're
Yeah.
just fighting it with detriment. By using these substances. So
Till you realize it's 5:30 in the morning, the 8-ball's gone.
exactly. Good point. So obviously, like I mentioned, with the increased amount of dopamine that's working around up there, it's triggering the brain's reward system. So now we get into the basis of what starts the addiction for caffeine is that now you feel really good because there's more dopamine in your brain and you're fighting tiredness. So now you're triggering the brain's reward system, and now you learn rat presses lever, gets pellet, feels good. And that's exactly what's going on in your head. Whether or not you consciously are aware of it, you are happy because you have been given the pellet. Let's talk a little bit about sugar. Right off the bat, you can do some Googling yourself if you're interested.
Sugar is the devil.
Sugar. Every time I say that word, I think a
Right.
System of a Down.
Right.
There are studies out there that strongly suggest that sugar is as addictive as cocaine.
I believe that.
Absolutely.
There's a lot out there trying to push that, and a lot of other substances, as addictive as a lot of other substances too. But they use cocaine because cocaine has such for the majority, a negative connotation to it as it being an illicit drug or whatnot. But it hits home real quick. It's got a wow factor to it.
It hits
right?
home,
It's
all
like,
right.
whoa, yeah. It's got a wow factor to it. Like, what? Sugar's okay, but cocaine bad, right? Well, no, it's actually about as addictive as that crap. So also leads to obesity and diabetes, and there are many studies that are trying to connect sugar to the one of the biggest causes of heart disease, which is the biggest killer, if I remember correctly. Period. I mean, way more than cancers and other large ailments. I can't think of anything else.
Yeah,
right
heart
now.
disease is
Heart disease is huge.
It's in charge.
Yeah, if
taken over.
If you've never looked that one up, because I have looked that one up before. I don't remember for what episode I had done that research for, but all this media that we get about cancers, in particular breast cancer, and then some to the lesser extent prostate cancer, not to discount those or anything, they're a very bad problem, but they are nothing compared to heart disease, like not even close. And what blows me away is why aren't they marketing the hell out of heart disease?
Because there's less opportunity to milk people for money.
That's exactly what it is.
Right.
Because
And then
there's
they'd have to change food.
There's-
We'd
there's-
have to really change food.
Yeah. There's better marketing for Save the Boobies than there is get rid of McDonald's.
Makes a better poster.
Right. Well, I mean, and
stop
to
drinking
truly
sugar.
adjust the heart disease issues in this country, you'd have to curb what's available for the populace. What's
killing us?
right. You'd have to put regulations on sugar
Yep.
and these processed bullshit things that we ingest. It's pretty nasty.
That's exactly it. Kind of like I broke down the biology behind caffeine, I'm going to try and do the same thing here in as layman terms as possible. Sugar is a class of molecules called carbohydrates, and they come in many, many forms. And these are the things you should probably look for when you're looking at ingredients. Glucose, fructose, sucrose, maltose, lactose, dextrose, starch, corn syrup, fruit syrup, raw sugar, and honey are all sugars. It's everywhere. You can look at it. You can pull up the ingredients for damn near anything, and you're going to see one or more of those ingredients. Also, I left it as corn syrup, but that includes high fructose corn syrup, which is a super refined version of that.
That's poison.
It's straight up. We're gonna at some point we want to dedicate an episode just to sugar in this country and or worldwide or whatever, because there is some crazy stuff that most people wouldn't even guess. Like the corn industry dominates this world because they control the sugar. High fructose corn syrup comes from corn. You grow corn and refine it. Guess what? Now you control everything.
Dude, it's all drug money.
It's seriously
Absolutely.
literally drug money. The experience that we have when we consume sugar starts as soon as it hits your tongue. Your tongue has sugar receptors, which is crazy to think about, but it starts immediately. It activates, like caffeine, activates the brain's reward system, making you want more. You do build a tolerance over time to sugar. So the more you eat, the more you need in order to still get those same reward center dopamine rushes that you once got.
That's why the fat kids want more candy bars.
Yeah. Sugar receptors.
I thought it was because they have bigger hands.
What? I like it.
Hey, speaking as a fat kid, dude.
We also have sugar receptors in our stomachs, which I thought was crazy. And I guess that's, if I remember correctly from what I was reading, is that's to inform the body not only of dopamine release and reward center stuff, but also to inform the body when it needs to produce more insulin to cancel out the sugar and some other...
Talking to the pancreas and kidneys and everything.
So it's neat. That's why we need those receptors down there so that it knows what's, what the body knows what to do with what you've just stuck in it. Sugar causes, okay, I think I already said this. Sugar causes dopamine to be released, making us feel good after eating it. And the truly dangerous part of why this becomes addictive, or one of them anyway, is that it can lead to what's called emotional eating, which further strengthens and solidifies the addiction. And emotional eating is along the lines of you get used to this dopamine rush and this feeling good from eating this sugary item. You need to eat more. If you're eating it regularly, you need to eat more regularly in order to maintain the dopamine release and the reward center that pleasing the brain's reward center. And then it gets to the point where you're eating to feel good, and then eating to feel content, and then eating to feel not bad.
Right.
And that's your addiction.
As your body acclimates and understands, you learn that introducing these foods to your body makes you feel good. If you're starting to feel down, your impulse is to, hey, I can do this and bring myself back up.
Yep, because it's easier than running around the block.
Right.
You exercise, you can do the same feel-good mentality, not have any sugar, but it's hard.
Right.
It's hard work.
You got to work for it.
It's easy to drink the milkshake.
Easy to open a bag of Cheetos.
That's not sugar. Well, there's
Yes,
sugar,
it
but
is.
that's not a big sugar.
It's all sugar.
That's
Really?
all it is, dude.
I
That's all that stuff is.
Wow, I don't think I've ever looked at the...
Dude, it's all complex carbohydrates.
Yep.
You're right, and we just went over... Okay, you're right. Okay, wow. That's crazy.
Yeah, dude, chips are all sugar.
Fuck.
Bread is sugar. Like,
I buy organic chips.
it's still all sugar.
Okay,
Do you organically feel better about it?
I do. Thank you. Okay, enough of that stuff. That was kind of dry, but I felt we should lay out at least a little about how scientifically we get to this addictive properties of these substances. Now, how did we get here? Well, obviously these companies are making buku bucks off of us, 45 point something billion a year nowadays. I mean, so obviously it's being fed by large corporations.
How old is the coffee trade?
Oh, man, it's got to be centuries.
Again, I was trying to keep everything to America, and it's been around since as long as America's been
inception
around.
of
So I mean,
America, for sure, yeah.
So I mean, we're way past that. But yeah,
Okay,
it's
so
centuries.
it's been part of our life and ingrained in our culture for as long as we've been a nation.
Oh,
as
yeah.
have a lot of other stimulants too. Like that's why I kind of joked. I was half
Well, yeah.
joking and serious about chewing the cocoa leaves.
Yeah.
Dude, cultures have been doing that forever for the same little stimulation, but a natural stimulation, which I guess so was coffee bean juice, but nevertheless.
Yeah, but I think those were more regionally specific. Like
Absolutely.
you've got caught in Africa and the cocoa leaves in South America, whereas I think coffee and tobacco were found in the European trade routes and brought back. Same as tea, but I think tea was much older, and they found that like in China and brought that back, and that blew up in the Middle East and in.
So you're thinking? So you're thinking in Europe, their cocoa leaves weren't.
I bet it was an import.
Okay.
I bet it was an import. And
We'd have to look it up.
Yeah, because I mean, obviously, Coke is still imported here for all kinds of medicinal reasons and all kinds. I mean, Coke is used like for all kinds of shit other than an illicit drug.
Yeah.
But for some reason, Coke got refined and turned into a drug and got scheduled whatever it is and illegal and all that stuff. Whereas this drug did not.
Yeah, it got made illegal so that companies with the license to sell it can have a monopoly
And
on
that
the
would be
market.
pharmaceuticals,
Right.
Because Coke is used in all the anesthetic, not all of the, a lot of
But
almost common anesthetics.
Cocaine, not the coca leaf, right? So unrefined coffee beans would be the same as the coca leaf.
So
right?
what we're
But
saying
if you
here-
synthesize it and make like a super strong caffeine, what am I trying to say here?
Tincture or
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah, I know.
pill or something.
from the coffee, that could be become a problem.
So what you're saying is, why can't I have my cocoa leaves?
You probably can.
No, I don't think you can grow those here.
You can grow poppy.
Poppy is an opiate, though.
Yep.
Yes.
Is
Opium.
Yeah,
That's
but,
opium. That's heroin. That's morphine.
Yeah, but that's
that
not-
might even be fentanyl.
So you can grow it, but as soon as you cut the bud, it's a felony.
Right. Okay.
so I can't pick poppies.
But what's to stop you from growing the coca and not putting that in your mouth?
Hey, man, it just fell in there. I never inhaled.
Yeah. So totally
That's crazy,
got
though.
sidetracked. I believe that the coca didn't make it to Europe until like it became an illicit
I would say,
drug.
yeah.
But I think that they were a pretty indigenous and remote culture that it didn't make it over there. But I could be totally wrong. We'd have to look it up.
Well, I
for
mean,
another
if you
episode.
look at like at most of the UK, I mean, they were the kings of importing, exporting, the beginning of all of that, and going into
Yeah.
like the Pacific and everything else. I think that was part of that exploration that brought coffee into Europe and stuff.
I totally agree. Yeah, with coffee, sugar, tea, and tobacco.
Yeah, it's amazing what you find when you go explore,
Right?
Right.
and then
Yeah.
And
take
steal
it.
Damn. Yeah, and we will cover that history of cocaine when we have planned in our Altered States series one on cocaine, and we will definitely go over how some of the refinement and how it started and
But for now, caffeine.
For now, we'll just be doing lines, and we'll get to it later. But
Sure, we will.
let's see, marketing. Oh yeah, that's right. We were in the marketing section here. Let's see. Yeah, so obviously, coffee is freaking everywhere. I mean, you everywhere you turn, you're seeing advertisements for that stuff, and every street corner you drive down, there's some way to get your bean juice fix. There's retail stores everywhere. And even more than that, even if you aren't driving around, you go to pretty much any supermarket, maybe local tiny markets, maybe not, but you go to any retail chain supermarkets, there's like a freaking aisle dedicated to coffee and coffee products. I mean, it's blowing me away how over the years how I've watched it grow, because again, I've never really been into drinking this stuff. So I watched that section in my supermarkets. It has grown like crazy. I noticed a real big explosion when the K-Cups got popular, because now there was a new format to serve the drug in and lay it, in these new packaging and this new marketing and now it was here's Dunkin' Donuts 15 flavors of coffee in the bags ground. Here's the same ones unground, and then here's the Dunkin' Donuts variations in K-Cups, and here's the 5-packs or the 10-packs and the 20-packs. So it's like now by the time you're done, now add in Starbucks' 35 flavors or whatever. Now add in, I don't know who else, Pete's.
I mean, 1/4 of the grocery store.
By the
pretty
time
soon.
yeah, exactly. So it's easy to fill up like a 30-foot, or a full aisle, of the sections for just coffee. It's like, it's crazy.
And those K-Cups are horrible.
Right.
Yep, they're super, super bad. I actually.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I actually saw somebody make one for the first time like a couple days ago, and when it was done, we opened it up and I pulled out the little thing, and dude, it smelled like when I used to like melt plastic from my like model making, with a hot knife. It's not super bad, but dude, you could totally smell, and the freaking container bulged out a little bit because it had been melted and deformed in the process.
Yeah, you are drinking plastic.
I was like, I couldn't believe that shit, dude. Yeah.
Believe it.
And then also the trash, the waste.
That's the biggest one for me, yeah.
I know that they do the reusable things, the filters that you drop in the K-Cup, thing, and they're supposed to be stainless. They're the little stainless mesh thing, and then you can put your your grinds directly into that and still use the K-Cup unit to make the Keurig unit to make your which I'm sure is better.
You're still brewing your coffee in plastic.
Yeah. Oh, the water reservoir is plastic. All the heating elements are surrounded by plastic. I mean, yeah, you're absolutely right. You're still brewing your coffee around plastic.
It's horrible.
Yep.
I'm a proponent of the French press with the glass and stainless.
Good old France press.
You know what I have tried that I really, really liked? I don't really make it that much anymore, is the Vietnamese coffee, where you use that. It uses a little special press thing, and it's and condensed milk. And so you use it. You use the stainless steel press thing to press the coffee into the cup, and then it's over ice, and then you throw the condensed milk over it, whatever. But anyway, like you said, no plastic. You brew it yourself. And I don't know how a French press works, but
You just pour boiling water into a glass container in the grounds, and then the press part is kind of like an internal combustion piston. Right, how that works,
Okay.
and that pushes the grounds down.
Oh,
the
okay.
water seeps through small pores, and then you drink the bean juice from the top, and the pores or the grounds are kept at the bottom of the container.
interesting. So then the plunger is obviously sealed
Yeah, and you,
Almost
can,
like a
you
rubber
dump that
grinder,
out when
yeah.
you're done.
Oh, interesting. That's kind of cool.
So if you've seen like
Mine
old,
has a. Oh, good. Sorry.
if you see movies based out of like the 40s or something like that, that's mostly the carafe that they'll be drinking the coffee from.
Okay, so before we leave marketing, I wanted to.
Wait, you were going to say something.
Oh, sorry.
The French press that I've used it's just like a stainless steel mesh screen that pushes up against the side of the inner wall.
Okay.
Of
the
glass.
cylinder.
Right.
Okay. Got
So
it.
there's no rubber in the press with the hot water.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool because who knows what the rubber's made of, right?
Petroleum.
Fuck. All right.
All the
Awesome.
bad things.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, so before we started recording, Glenn actually brought up a really cool story that I had forgotten. I think I had heard about it in the news, and I was like, dude, I think we should include that. And it was about I'll let Glenn tell it, but it was the one about the pictures that were displayed. So go ahead.
Let's see. There was I believe it was Starbucks, had a artwork in a new store that went up on the wall, and it showed the people picking coffee beans. It showed the plantation or whatever it's called that people are going.
The farmers?
The farmers. And in these photos, it had, the whole family unit that was out there working from 3-year-old child to grandparent. And these went up for a very, very brief window. And there was a pretty good stink about it. The child labor.
Showed little black kids picking fucking beans, right?
Yep.
So these people went all crazy over this, right? And they complained and they got these pictures taken down. But what blows me away, and the reason I wanted to bring it up, is because they didn't stop shopping at the company that's supporting that shit, right?
Oh, no. They just made a fuss about seeing seeing what's actually going on.
And
We don't want to see you treating animals bad, but we want to eat them.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. That's the same.
We know what goes into this. We don't want to have to see
That's
it.
how the entitlement thing works.
And then the
kinda.
next, that's right. And then the next thing that popped up in our heads when we were having this conversation before we started recording was, we don't want to know that some kid had to shove a bunch of little diamonds up his ass and then try and run over the border, and then so that your pretty little wife can have her fucking diamond ring for her wedding, right? But we don't want to know about that. But we still want to buy the diamond, right? We still want to pay.
We don't
want to
know a bunch of little kids were whipped and beaten by some asshole.
Child slave labor feeds a lot of these industries that we support every day of our lives and don't even care about, and we don't want to see pictures of it, but we're still going to support it.
We don't want to break our illusion of
it.
our happy little worlds.
That's it. So I thought that was super ironic. That
in
they
the
did
regions of the world where we harvest the coffee, that's how things are in their culture. You don't go to college; you work on the farm, and their labor laws are different for a very specific reason. Oh yeah. So it's probably very common that you'd have a 12-year-old boy picking coffee beans, working for the family because he's going to start his own family in a couple of years.
if he's getting paid anything at all, he might be enslaved.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure that happens too, as
I'm
it has
sure.
with every.
It does with
farm
every
working,
industry.
Yeah, with every farm, all over the world. So there's that to think about.
Which is
Drink up.
silly because if we impose our ideas of child labor in these regions and don't correct everything that goes into it, what you're doing is you're now restricting that family's potential earnings,
True.
right?
Unless you can
That's
really
a-
change the entire system, and then
All of it.
Then the pricing would go up
Education,
sky high for everything, and you may as well start growing coffee
Instead
here.
of $45
That's why we don't
a
grow
gallon.
coffee in California.
That or we realize that our regulations are freaking insane and we just deregulate our own thing to step back.
they're insane, but they make us feel good, Glenn.
Right?
Right. Okay.
That's all it's really.
Hey, as long as I feel good, I'm good.
Right.
Keep
Who
drinking coffee,
cares how
buddy.
many little kids get beat?
Yeah. It's not my
doesn't matter.
not my little kid that's getting
Yeah,
beat,
it's not my
so-
kid. Get out of my way. I got to hop in my Escalade and go back to Starbucks.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go make me some more Nikes.
Got to get in that drive-through lane that wraps around the building. That blows me away every dude. Sometimes I'll come home from work late, right? It'll be I'll be late for coming home from work for me anyway. I'll come home and it'll be like 7:30, 8 o'clock, something like that. I'm getting off the freeway, PM, and I getting off the freeway, and right there that there's a line. So the Starbucks that's closest to my house has like a drive-through that wraps around the little mini strip mall. It's not just the one building of Starbucks. It's several stores that are in there. And so that drive-through lane goes around that entire little strip mall thing, right? Sometimes that thing at like 8 o'clock at night is filled all the way back to the parking lot, like a huge line, probably a dozen more people.
Yeah, and
cars.
the best part about that is that most of those people who are standing in line to pay $6 for a cup of coffee that's going to be 700,
Whatever.
calories or
Yeah.
whatever it is, they're burning a ton of gas.
Yeah. Yeah,
they're throwing trash out their window. They're having quality fight time and domestic violence with their kids in the car.
And the front counter is empty.
Right?
Yeah, he could just walk inside, walk right out.
Awesome. So
Yeah.
that blows me away when I see that.
And that's a great marketing thing that Starbucks has done. they've got people coming in consistently in the morning and in the evening.
Yeah.
And you've got a trickle there in the middle of the day. There's not too many retail stores where you can go, and they've got that steady of a flow. And one thing that I've fallen prey to is the app that they have makes it pretty convenient to just go in and kind of get your coffee. They've introduced a reward system, right?
Other than the dopamine?
Other than the dopamine.
Other than the dopamine, exactly. So what they're doing is they're conditioning you
Brand loyalty.
to
Yeah, this is
come
done.
in and get more. And then that wasn't enough, so they'd offer you special incentives. And it would be simple things like, okay, well, they already can tell that you come in at a specific time of the day and get a specific drink. So they'll throw in these other incentives. If you try these 3 different drinks, we'll give you extra points towards free coffee or free whatever. And then they started adding in this one. They fucking got me too. Okay, you come in, you try these other drinks after 2 p.m. Because now they're going to condition you to come in not just in the morning, but we want you to get hooked in the afternoon as well.
Wow, dude.
That's why the line is so long around there. It wasn't like that always. When I first started drinking
Fucking
coffee,
hell, dude, that's straight up rat. Press lever, get pellet.
that's
Right.
Brilliant marketing people right there. But they're getting you addicted because there's another dopamine release you get from getting free shit and what do you call it when you check off boxes on your to-do list?
Yeah, they do those card levels too, don't they? Somebody was telling me about
Yep.
that too. Like, there's different levels. If you spend X number of dollars per year, you get a black card or some shit like that, right? Different
don't know
colors
about
of Starbucks cards that you get
Yeah.
based on how much you spend. You have to maintain that on a 12-month period cycle or whatever. Dude,
That's crazy.
Wow.
Were you done with that?
Yeah, I don't
Because that's
want
where
to
we're
get
going to
any
end
farther
this one.
into
Yeah,
it
I don't-
because I'll cry.
I'm disgusted. That's where we're ending this. Hope you guys enjoy your coffee and hope you enjoy your morning coffee and a cup of Joe, and hope you enjoyed this episode. Thank you for listening. Show notes and other info can be found at our website, greatdistraction.com. The Great Distraction is listed in iTunes, and we greatly appreciate it when our listeners take the time to look us up and leave us a 5-star rating and review. That helps our show grow and motivates us to continue producing content. If you'd like to get in contact with us, you can do so using the email address, greatdistractionpodcast@gmail.com, or via our website. We're always interested in hearing any thoughts, comments, or questions from our listeners. Keeping up on the latest from us can be done in several different ways. You can add us to your favorite RSS feed tracker. The link is available on our website or in iTunes, or you can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Just search for Great Distraction, one word, no space. As always, thank you for listening, and thank you for all the support.